Good day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Reflections on KLA TV. Reflection is an online TV program where significant events in our lives and the lives of dignitaries are showcased and explored. I remain Abimbola Olaoluwa Makinde. Here with me on the program is Prince Adetayo Adekunle.
Thank you very much for having me. It's good to be in this world-class studio of K-Links TV. Thank you very much indeed for having me once again.
You are welcome. Prince Adekunle, can you tell us who Prince Adekunle is?
Thank you very much for your question. I think Prince Adekunle is a man of many parts. He's a young man, he's a gentleman. He believes in youth empowerment, he believes in youth investment, he believes in community development. He's fairly well read, has chains of degrees in political science, has competencies in law and administration, and of course, he's a friend of the old and the young. So that summarizes who Adetayo Adekunle is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So what age bracket is appropriate for us to refer to as the youth?
Well, the classification of the youth age is a controversial topic because in Nigeria, prior to May 2019, what we had was ages 18 to 35. But following the approval of the National Youth Policy by the Federal Government of Nigeria in 2019, the reviewed version, they now designated the age bracket of a young person to 15 to 29. But this is in conflict with the provisions of the African Youth Charter, which still stipulates 18 to 35, and that of the UN Charter, which stipulates 15 to 35. So and interestingly, Nigeria is a member of all of these international organizations. So, and we are bound by the treaties we signed there to the extent of their domestication in Nigeria. So if you say what is the age bracket, I will say that locally it is 15 to 29, internationally it is 18 to 35.
Thank you. What can you tell us the percentage of in our population, the population of this country, which is approximately said to be over 200 million? What percentage of the youth carry?
Well, Nigeria, we have a lot of issues with demographics. We do not have appropriate primary data, so we have to rely on secondary sources. So if you put together all of the sources of data from the BVN, from the driver's license and registry, from INEC. INEC even says that young people constitute 65% of the voting population. So if we use INEC if we use that as a sample, it should tell us that young people constitute about 65% of the total population of Nigeria. So that should be 65% of 200 or 220 million or thereabouts.
Thank you. So what does this population of the youth, what does it represent? What does it represent for a nation?
It represents our greatest strength. It represents our most productive workforce. It also represents, majority. It represents the largest spectrum of a subgroup in Nigeria. But unfortunately, the output is still very, very low because government, private sector, families, religious institutions, youth organizations, and all of us are failed because it is only a bad person that will apportion blame to every other strata without apportioning blame to him or herself. Every strata has failed in appropriately developing the human capital of our young people. If you look at the National Youth Policy, there are obligations of government, there are obligations of family, there are obligations of the mass media, there are obligations of the religious institutions. If you don't have money, you can't sit in the first row in certain religious institutions. If you don't have money, you can't be Baba Adini or Baba Ajo, certain religious institutions. Even in your family, So we are we are supposed to be the most productive, we are supposed to be the most active, we are supposed to be the most agile. Yes, we have seen, tiny fractions of people contributing their bits to the development of the polity, but it is, at the barest minimum. It's just like a drop of sachet water in an ocean.
Sorry, do you think the youth,
Yes,
the average Nigerian youth has been able to realize has the education to meet up with the challenges?
Yes, thank you very much. You see, education is a very interesting concept. It has to do with the formal and informal. And I always want to emphasize on the fact that we should have an hybrid educational curriculum that combines the informal, the formal, the modern, and the ancient. Because you will see so many people who have chains of university degrees who do not deem it fit to use, as we say in Yoruba, to use hair for an older person. You have people who have gone to Harvard, Cambridge, Ibadan, Ilorin, who cannot even greet those who are old enough to be their mothers properly. So, yes, emphasis has been on formal education. Even the formal education, in primary schools, our young children still draw grasshoppers there. When the world has moved to artificial intelligence, robotics, coding, mathematical engineering. So, we have the basic education, but I think we could go in an advanced manner. We should teach our children our culture. Our culture is gradually fading away. Everybody is building prisons called houses. On the streets of Ibadan, you see a lot of barbed wire fences everywhere. The family system has been broken down. People don't have cousins these days. They don't have nephews again. It's just my mother, my father, and my siblings. It shouldn't be that way. The more that we are ostracizing our children from other relations, we are constituting nuisance to society, because eventually they would not be able to associate with the larger spectrum of the people. So we have the basic education, but I feel it is not enough. We should combine the ancient. People should have the ethos of Omoluabi. Shouldn't be about money. Should be about virtues, integrity, human relations, respect for constituted authorities, respect for elders. People should, be able to do mentorship. In those days, they used to say, "We're begging lower." It was some form of communalism. You will see carpenters, 20 of them going to assist their colleague to construct his house, to put blocks there, to roof it. They call that Owe in those days. You don't have that anymore. So we need to recreate ourselves, into a single community. So as far as education is concerned, Nigerian youth have the basic, requisite education to contribute their quota, but I feel that is not enough. We should add a little bit of the ancient and a great deal of the modern, so that you can have a complete package, a total package.
And so, from your explanation, I could see you sort of lay emphasis on the society not being conducive sort of for the youth to fulfill their potentials.
Yes.
If I may ask, what would you suggest? What would you suggest that could be what needs to be done to achieve this for the youth, for the Nigerian youth to actually achieve that, but they have fulfilled their potential?
Yeah, I think that Nigeria does not lack policies. Nigeria does not lack programs, but when it comes to implementation, it becomes a major problem. Now, I believe in the review of our educational curriculum. I also believe in reorientation. Most of our friends, young people who are going to higher institutions today, most of them are going with the aim of securing what some people call white collar jobs after graduation. And the truth of the matter is that the average Nigerian sees government as the most important, source of as the most important employer. So we need to de-emphasize that. And how do we de-emphasize that? Is to invest in our arts and culture sector, invest in entertainment, invest in technology, invest in social entrepreneurship. So the reorientation has to start now, that you are not going to university because you want to work for Kujuwenji local government. You are not going to university because you want to work for Tescom. Oyo State recently conducted Tescom exams. Many of them failed. They failed woefully. Woefully because some of them have not allowed the institution to pass through them. You have a lot of people carrying binding certificates around without any probative value. So everybody has their talents. Every individual has areas of comparative advantage. If you can sing very well, it might be more beneficial to you to focus on a career entertainment rather than saying that you want to lecture in the University of Ibadan. Because you become a useless teacher and you pass on garbage to every of your students. So government and the private sector and those who are well-to-do should create an enabling environment in other sectors of the economy. There are some of us who can do finance, some of us can do paintings, some of us, there's a lot of value chain in agric, there's a lot of value chain in mining. All of these sectors, we should try as much as possible to open them up. There are so many people who are multi-talented, but everybody wants to work in secretariat. Everybody wants to work at UCH. And the truth of the matter is the carrying capacity of UCH cannot even accommodate the number of University of Ibadan graduates alone. So we need to think outside the box. We need to encourage arts and crafts, And we also need to expand our horizon. You can go to Shaki, you can sell shoes there. If you have good service, if you are churning out good product, people will buy from you. Yes, it's not easy to start, but we see that government, should create that enabling environment. The ease of doing business should be paramount in the acts of government. We shouldn't be paying millions to get licensed. I shouldn't be paying thousands to register at CAC. I should have access to funds for MSME. So basically, I think that it has to do with the two parties. Government and the private. Government should create an enabling environment. The private sector should free up funds for those who have entrepreneurial skills. Young people should also de-emphasize on government jobs. I want to work at Secretariat, I want to work at INEC. Yes, some of us will work there, but the truth is that the spaces there are limited. So we have to do other things. There are people who are into other sectors who are also doing very well and contributing their quota to the development of the society. So that would be my take.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Do you now think that the Nigerian youth, have the right attitude to be the cutting edge of the society in terms of leadership now? In terms of, can we have a youth president? Do the youth have the cutting edge to move the society forward?
Thank you very much. You see, as for presidency, I have a very different opinion. If we use our local classification, I do not think that
it's time for the youth.
A 29-year-old can run Nigeria perfectly now. I do not think so.
Now,
yes,
but
that is
the present president Muhammadu Buhari when he was in the khaki, the uniform,
Yes.
and the head of state, what age? And the one.
Gawan is my mentor. I mean, Gawan was head of state at 29 or 30 or thereabouts. But the truth of the matter is that the 1970s and the 2020, you can't compare the two eras together. The truth of the matter, for me, is that the presidency is not meant for trial and error. It's meant for doers. It will be, I mean, if you want to put a 29-year-old to run the affairs of a country that has about 350 ethnic groups, 774 local governments, I do not think that presently a 29-year-old can do that perfectly.
Does he have the experience?
Because it's very important. So I will let us de-emphasize on the federal government. Let us start young people as local government chairman. Let us see young people as commissioners. Let us see young people as councillors, House of Rep members, because you need to have administrative experience. You need to have political experience. It is not about going to Harvard Business Schools to do seminars, going to Lagos Business Schools to write papers. You need a combination of the digital and analog to run Nigeria. Most of the Bretton Woods policies from World Bank and IMF, they are not very relevant to the needs of my brother in Shaki or Ghana. They are not very relevant to the needs of my people in Oyo Alaafin. They are not very relevant to the average man in Borno. So that is why you need a combination of the analog and the digital. If you go to Harvard to learn, you must be able to indigenize, you must be able to localize what you have learned so that you can deliver. If you come to Oyo, for instance, and say that you want to start taxing people indiscriminately without community engagement with the stakeholders, the Irunmoles, the people that our brother, our very senior father, Rada Jivakitola, will call gatekeepers. You need to know all of these people. You need to manage them properly. So I don't think we can have. I'm not supporting the idea of a youth president for now, a 29-year-old, because that is what we are talking of, or a 15-year-old as president. No.
How about the 30, 40?
Somebody in between 30 and 40s, yes, can be president, but definitely not the 29-year-old. The 29-year-old should be made probably an advisor or a grade C board or a minister so that he can learn. You need to learn. But yes, we have also had young people in government. What was their performance? What was their output? What was their delivery? That is not to say that we do not have qualified people. There are thousands of qualified people in Nigeria, but we should not start them off with the presidency. When people give examples of Macron, of Sebastian Kurz, of they started from somewhere. All of them started from somewhere. You cannot just come out and take over the reins of power. Power is not served a la carte. So young people who want to be in government should do volunteering. They should go for mentorship opportunities. They should listen to those who have been there before. It's not all the time that all these elders are wrong. We should just strive to do better and improve on what they have done earlier. So I think that young people can start from the subnational level. Let a young person be governor of Oyo State, for instance. Let us now use Oyo State as a microcosm of Nigeria. Let us see how well he will fare in his administration of Oyo State. If he can do that, we can say, okay, let's try him on a national level. But for you to say that somebody who has 1 million likes on Facebook and you think that one is tantamount to running Nigeria, no, I won't buy that. Or you say that somebody has 10 million followings on Instagram, and because if you are on many WhatsApp groups, you see that people complain about the admins. That is to show that it is not easy to run even a WhatsApp group. Some can't even manage a single alumni platform on WhatsApp. And people like that will also come out and motivational speakers. They will say they want to be president. The presidency of Nigeria is not a place for the students of Baba Salah or the Awada Keke of Baba Sule. So people should learn from the subnational level, learn in the private sector, get mentors, get good support system, get better education, and with time we'll eventually have a youth president. But certainly not between the 15 to 29 brackets that our policy circulating.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is an exquisite studio. The standard is what you get, from other popular sister TV stations. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for watching us today. We appreciate your patronage. Next time, till you see us next time on K-Links TV, remember to keep safe.